When you look at systemic racism, you're looking at trends that have affected the wealth gap between the races historically in the United States. This is not about a person being a racist or your grandma being a racist. It has to do with what the economy looked like for white persons and black persons historically in this country. Back during the time of the Civil War, the white folks had 56 times more wealth on average than a black person. So it was 56 to 1. Just 10 years later, in 1870, after Reconstruction, that gap went from 56 to 1 to 23 to 1. Pretty dramatic improvement in 10 years. The reason for that market improvement is that while black people were now allowed to purchase land and assets, so black wealth was going up, simultaneously white wealth was coming down because what was a huge part of their wealth? Slaves. Human beings that they were no longer allowed to own. By 1900, the gap had closed all the way to 11 to 1. The average white person had 11 times more wealth than the average black person. And then it stalled out. And the reason it stalled out is because black people were still being discriminated against. They didn't have the same access to credit, if any access to credit. Legislative attempts at narrowing the gap were shot down, at trying to finish narrowing the gap were shot down, like the 40 acres and a mule thing that never got passed. They faced widespread discrimination in education. The schools were still segregated and they weren't getting the best funding and they weren't getting the best teachers. They were discriminated against in the workforce. Now from 1900, when it was 11 to 1, to 1960, over 60 years, the gap squeezed a little bit smaller to 8 to 1. So for every black family that had $10,000 in total assets, the average white family had $80,000 in total assets, okay? And how did we go from 11 to 1 to 8 to 1? Well, a couple things happened. FDR made it illegal to discriminate against black workers, but only for purposes of the military and government positions. But still, every little bit helps. And then also, you had World War I and World War II. So many white men left the American workforce that black men were finally able to start moving up into higher paid positions. That doesn't mean they were paid the same as the white person who had previously done that job, but they were being paid more than they were previously, and they were getting access to higher skilled work. So then by the 1980s, the gap had closed to 5 to 1. And what was helping close the gap? Civil rights that had taken place between 1965 and 1980. Fair Housing Act, the federal minimum wage that did not discriminate. So those things were helping close that gap just a little bit. So that takes us up to 1980. But what has happened in the last 45 years? We were at 5 to 1 gap. How much have we closed since then? None. In the last 45 years, we've gone backwards. So we are now at a 6 to 1 gap. The average white family has 6 times more wealth than the average black family. And why is that happening? Well, because wealth compounds. It's not just about who has the ability to earn X salary. It's that the white families were starting with more wealth, more property, more stocks, bonds, etc. And they're able to compound that wealth. Whereas if the black and brown populations are starting without those assets, they don't have the ability to compound. They end up having to spend what they earn. They have to consume the majority of the income that they're earning just to sustain a living. This isn't about blaming an individual. It's not about vilifying people. What it is about is exploring and understanding the economics behind why we have that gap so that we can address those things with policy moving forward.
The real reason why cartoon characters wear white gloves is way more disturbing than you think. So everybody's familiar with this very specific style of white glove that a ton of classic cartoon characters wear, but not many people really question why they're wearing the gloves. It's just how it always has been. Unless you're the character Bobby from an extremely goofy movie who jokingly asked this exact question.
Do you ever wonder why we're always like wearing gloves?
Yeah. That's just a funny little gag, but it's a good point. Why do they wear the gloves? Well, a lot of people will tell you it's so the characters' hands can stand out from their darker bodies, which made it easier for animators to make them more expressive and to better convey the things that they were doing with their hands. And while that's technically true, it's only half of the story, and it leaves out a very important and very disturbing detail. Cartoon characters wear white gloves so that their hands stand out against their black bodies because blackface minstrel actors from the 1920s and 30s wore white gloves so that their hands would stand out against the black paint on their faces. Because many early cartoon characters like Mickey Mouse, Felix the Cat, Bimbo the Dog, and Bosco were blackface minstrel characters. That's right, Mickey Mouse was originally intended to be a parody or an homage to vaudeville blackface actors. You see, in the early days of cartoon animation, before TV existed or they were even being regularly played in movie theaters, animators like Winsor McCay, creator of Little Nemo, would take their cartoons on tour with vaudeville shows and literally project them on stage on a screen. They would even sometimes interact with their animations. And the most popular part of these vaudeville touring shows was was the blackface minstrel act. And so the animators, trying to grab the audience that was there to see the blackface minstrel shows, would pattern their characters off of those blackface actors. So the cartoon characters would take on the physical traits of these blackface actors, like the dark black skin with the white or red mouth and eyes, and also the personality traits and tropes of blackface minstrelsy, like the mischievous trickster character, which was very common in blackface and was also what most cartoon characters in the 1930s and 40s were. This minstrel style of cartoon character carried over from the vaudeville era of animation to the film era of animation with characters like Mickey Mouse and Felix the Cat. And after a while, blackface minstrel shows obviously fell out of favor and people just kind of forgot that they were like that. So the style of the character became solely associated with cartoons. And that's how we ended up with generations of these cartoon characters with these inexplicable white gloves. And again, many people will tell you, no, it's nothing to do with blackface. It's so that their hands can stand out from their bodies, but that's just not historically accurate. And here's the thing, I love animation like many people, and I love many of these characters. I'm not trying to get anything canceled. I just think it's important to be aware of these things.
The problem is there's 3 people in a store at 1 o'clock in the morning.
Because there's 3 people in the store. What's the problem with 3 people being in a store?
It's 1 o'clock in the morning, sir.
And what's the problem with that?
People aren't usually in stores at 1 in the morning.
And what's the problem with that?
Because you can't tell me why you're...
So your supervisor's going to come tell me what the problem
Let
is.
me put it this way, sir.
Yes.
If I was walking around that store at 1 o'clock in the morning, not in this, would you think it's odd? Would you think that was odd?
If you are doing what?
If I was in a store at 1
Now
o'clock
I'll
in
be
the
minding
morning...
my business.
Huh?
I'll be minding my business.
I would think that's a little strange.
I'll be minding my business. I'm not going to tell you anything. You're going to bring your supervisor, you bring your supervisor.
He's coming right now. He's right here.
Okay, you tell him to come talk to me.
He's on his way.
Okay, where's your supervisor?
He's right there.
Okay, tell him to come then.
Okay.
Yeah. Supervisor, how are you doing?
That's right. How are you,
You
sir?
came 3 of you guys. What's going on? What's the problem? There's 3 black people in the store. What's the problem with that?
So it's 1 o'clock in the morning. There's 3 people in the store.
There's
They want
3
to
black
tell me
people
why
in the
they're-
store, 3 o'clock in the morning. What's the problem?
There's 3 people.
There's
in
3
the
black
store.
people in the store. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. What's the problem?
It's 1 o'clock in the morning, and
Yes.
we never have any activity at the store at that time.
Okay.
Is this your store?
So what's the problem with having 3 black people in the store?
You keep emphasizing black people. That's not.
Yes,
what this is.
yeah. You cannot tell me you don't see that. You see that 3 black people in the store. What's the problem with that?
I see 3 people in the
I see
store
black
at
people
1
in the
o'clock
store.
in the morning.
I see
1
black-
o'clock in the morning. This
Okay.
street's closed up at 9 o'clock at night. There's
Okay.
nobody here.
Okay, so what's the problem?
That's the problem.
Okay.
This street closes at 9 o'clock at night, and there's
Okay.
never anybody in here.
Okay.
This isn't regular business hours. There's no
Okay.
customers in there.
Okay.
Is it your store? That's all we want to know.
Like, you want to know why?
I want to know what you're doing in the store at 1 o'clock in the morning.
Okay, if I tell you it's my store, then what?
Then show me that it's your store. and
I
we're
do
out
not
of here.
have to show you nothing. If I tell you it's my store, then what?
The Tiburon officer was joined by his supervisor, Sergeant Michael Blasi, who demands that Mr. Khalif prove he owns the store. In general, citizens are not legally required to assist police officers with their investigations. In this situation, Mr. Khalif did not have a responsibility to answer Sergeant Blasi's questions, explain what he was doing in the store, or prove that he is the owner of the store. He claimed to be the store owner, and the officers had no evidence that he was being untruthful. There were no signs of forced entry, such as broken windows or doors. The lights were on in the store. The individuals inside were not trying to hide, and nothing was ransacked or destroyed. The store alarm did not go off, and no one called the police to report criminal activity. There is far more evidence to suggest nothing illegal is happening than the conclusion that criminal activity is occurring. The officers easily could have accepted Mr. Khalif's statement that he owned the store and stayed outside to observe the activity occurring in the store.
I mean, based off from those 3 videos that you guys just watched, I mean, you can just see how it all leads back to racism. It all leads back. It all leads back, and I mean, I'm not surprised. You know what I'm saying? I'm not surprised. This whole idea of America that everybody likes to portray like it's the best place to live in the world, the place of opportunity, the place where your whole life is gonna change, right? You're gonna live a better life. You have more opportunities. You're gonna become a well-rounded person. You're gonna be happy. Nope, that is not the case. It never was. and it's like being black is like a humiliation ritual when you're living in America and just living in just planet Earth in general. You know what I'm saying? Like really think about it. Like us being black, right? For us black guys, right, and black women, right? Really think about this, right? We all have bad RNG because imagine we were born in the times of slaves, bro. We would have been cooked. We got bad RNG. We would have been cooked, bro. You know what I'm saying? We would have been cooked. But to be fair, like, it's still a blessing to be black. Still a blessing. I would never want to be anything else. You feel me? But it's just sad. Like it's like you get falsely accused for everything. You know what I'm saying? This whole idea of America was built off blood and slavery and tears and sweat and just destruction and disgustingness. You know what I'm saying? It's just that's what it was built on, right? You can't make something good if the foundation was always built off that. Like the foundation was built off racism. You can't make a country that's good when the foundation is terrible. You can't do that. You gotta tear down the whole system. You gotta destroy it and tear it down from the bottom. It can't be like you can't do it. It's impossible. The name America has to be forgotten. This whole thing needs to be redone, right? Need to start from scratch, right? I'm not saying remove some of the laws, obviously keep some of the laws and stuff like that, but still the Constitution, all these things need to be like this redone. Not everything, right? But I'm just saying because like look at this. We have people breaking the laws when they have money and power, but if it's us, people like us, especially if you're black, you're cooked. You know what I'm saying? The white supremacy shit is it's crazy, bro. It's too strong. But it's not gonna last forever though. It won't last forever. You know what I'm saying? It won't. It's impossible for it to last forever. And I want to see it crumble. And it is crumbling. We're seeing it happening we're seeing it happening in 2025. And I think 2026 is gonna be the year where we see it happen even more. But that's what they like to see. They like to see the white supremacy, they love it. You know what I'm saying? They love taking advantage of people, the greed, the money, the power, right? You're working like a slave 5 days a week. You know what I'm saying? If you get injured or sick, you lose your home. What type of opportunity is that? What type of life is that? You know what I'm saying? The insurance, all this bullshit scams, man. It's sad. That's the reality of America. They keep you a slave. That's the reality of things. I mean, there's nothing more to say. I mean, that's just the reality of things, guys. But I'm gonna see y'all in the next video. Peace out.